Speaking of tearing up the midfield, I think Liga MX is tearing up MLS's midfield. I think it's gotten to a little bit of the point where, I mean, MLS has been behind Liga MX since always. And at one point we were like, oh, we finally passed them. And no, we did not. We didn't.
We just won a tournament.
We didn't. We're still behind.
It's still the bench. It's still the bench. If this was FIFA and fatigue was turned off and you went top 11 versus top 11, MLS, they're way closer in quality. But as soon as you add 12 through 25,
yes,
the Liga MX team is way better.
They're deeper.
Much deeper.
And they're able to pay, and they're keeping a lot of Mexican stars from going abroad too.
To the detriment of the Mexican national team, they be saying,
apparently, but also that's why they have these really good clubs that are beating these MLS squads, and it's getting me to the point where I'm like, USL is knocking on the door. MLS is just, they're asleep at the wheel, it seems, and MLS needs to do something big. I don't know what, but MLS needs to do something big. For me, it's join up with USL, figure out the promotion relegation, but you got to believe that there's going to be not a single owner that has paid $500 million to buy into MLS. Nobody wants to sign.
Listen, you give them 10 years. You say you bought in for $500 million to be in the top division for the first 10 years. After 10 years, we're going to take stock of those 10 years and the bottom 3 teams get relegated, or even the bottom 2 in the East and the West.
1 year, after this year. That's when.
No, after 10 years.
That's when we would start it. You have to start stipulated period.
Then it would be every year.
Yep. So it'd be like, this is the year we start it, and if you were at the bottom, you're going down.
Correct. Give them time to recoup the investment, and then you've recouped the investment. Now it's time. But the problem is MLS owns the teams. You're going to have to break that up.
They're franchises. They're not clubs, right? And you also mentioned the idea of parachute payments earlier in the podcast, and it was that they have to figure out all these subtle nuances that make all sorts of that even the Premier League and the Championship really still haven't even figured out all that great either, because they have problems all the time for certain clubs. Yes, they have parachute, but like to go from spending $20 million, $30 million on your club to $120 million and to go back down to $30 million, that's a big squeeze.
Oh yeah. No, that's why you see the Fulham and the Norwich special, the up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's just, there's a lot of challenges. Yes, I want Pro Rel, but there are a lot of challenges to it. And let us not kid ourselves. The only way Pro Rel really changes the landscape of the first division is if Chicago and New York and LA get like a second, third, fourth, and fifth team. So let's not pretend like Tulsa is ever going to get out of the second division. Let's not pretend that Kansas City will ever get back to the first division. Like, let's not pretend the big cities are going to be the ones in the first division repeatedly. So it's not the landscape is not going to change very much here in America until it gets big enough that you start seeing 4 teams in the city limits of Chicago. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like, it's funny you say that, because, I mean, like, if you go back to the old EPL standings before the Premier League took over in its very first year, Leeds United used to be
92 or whatever.
Yeah, Leeds United used to be a Studley team. They fell off for years. For years, Leeds United fell off. Now they're finally,
and now they're a yo-yo team.
Yeah, and now and that's actually my question for you before we end this podcast. And you guys, I greatly appreciate you guys kicking that like button, staying around for our conversation here of Talking Soccer here on Enemies of the Fire, and to help us hit our goal of 500 subscribers. But that's my question to you, Toke, and to you, the viewer. Is this idea of, hold on, I lost it. I wrote it down. Thank fucking goodness. I wrote it down. I was smart enough to write it down. and you were just talking about these waffling teams. How challenging would it be to be a fan of those waffling teams? So like here we are thinking, promotion relegation, it solves all of our woes as fans. But what if you're supporting a team that fucking sucks? Or worse, that isn't great, that just goes between goodness and greatness all the time, and you get your hopes up, we're going up, we're up, we're going back, we're going down, and then we're going back up. Like how couldn't that take a toll?
Well, that's where after decades of this, let's not pretend the rest of the world didn't have 100-year head start, right? So after decades of this, that's where you get those moments like a Nottingham Forest fan, until maybe this year, could eat all year off that one game that they beat Man United. Or that, like, remember that one season when we had that stretch where we won those 3 games? Like, we may never finish below, above 12th or below 15th, but like you get these special moments because like I will admit the EPL, when you watch it on a Saturday, feels a little bit more like an NFL Sunday than an MLS Saturday does.
100%.
It does.
1000% does. And how does it do that? Is it because of the atmosphere? Is it because of all the fans that are in the stadium? Even though there's games where there's sometimes not a lot of fans in the stadium.
Those stadiums are just smaller. They're just smaller, right? I'm on record. I feel like if the Fire were good, we'd fill that 60,000 seat arena or stadium. I feel like building a 25,000 person stadium is the biggest waste of money and time ever, because that's already around what we get. There's no growth. That's just keeping the current Fire the way it is. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
turn that
back to the Fire. But
it's fine.
I don't know. There are so many challenges to Pro Rel. That's why I say, like, the only way to do it right, you can't be like, we're going to do it this year. Yeah. You got to be like, okay,
steps.
We got 10 years to figure out all the minutia. So just keep winning games. As long as you're not the worst the worst 2 teams in the East and the West, I don't know.
They need to be aggressive. I think USL needs to be aggressive, and they've already got a lot of people peaked. Their interests are peaked. I'd love to be able to support a club that goes up and down as part of this system. And if Chicago Fire want to be a part of that, I think that they got to figure that out sooner than later. Because
listen,
I'm a Chicago Fire fan. I am, but at the same time, I'm looking at these USL teams like I might have to find a team. And right now, Indy 11 is just the closest. But maybe like there's a Yankees.
I would go with Forward Madison. Over
sometimes
Indy 11.
Sometimes fans gravitate towards the Yankees. Sometimes they gravitate towards the Dodgers. Like those great teams. Where's the great team of USL? I'm curious.
All the teams that were any good in USL for a lot of years got gobbled up. The entire Pacific Northwest was in USL.
That's true.
Brian Schmetzer, USL coaching legend.
Wow.
All right. Upon the mention of Brian Schmetzer, I think it's time to wrap things up.